Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of True Crime Reviews. Though there are always going to be times where I just simply list off the facts about one simple case, there are going to be times where I dive into speculation a little bit. The gray area between the black that is dishonesty and the white that is facts. Today is one of those days where I present accusations of alleged criminal actions of a certain horror director named Lucifer Valentine. For legal reasons, I must stress that any allegations made or brought up in this video are just that, allegations. Any claims I make in this video are purely speculation. However, I do feel a lot of the things in this video do need to be addressed. For Lucifer Valentine, this is not an attack on you, as I do not condone any harassment or beratement of you or any of the individuals discussed in this video. For the supposed victims of Lucifer Valentine, I stand by your side and wish nothing but the best for your recovery and grief. I will stress one more time that I will not partake nor condone any harassment of any of the individuals mentioned in today's video. All information is purely alleged or speculation. Without further ado, let's tread lightly.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Ukraine, the investigation has been completed now into a string of violent murders that shocked the city of Dnipropetrovsk.
ISIS released a new video today claiming to show the mass execution of Ethiopian Christians in Libya.
The investigation into the high school massacre is slow-moving and dangerous.
Victims range between the ages of 16 and 80.
This jar now holds 114 stones, one for each of the 114 stab wounds.
His lawyer called him a gentleman in the old-fashioned sense.
Nanjing, the capital of the Republic of China, witnessed one of the darkest events of the Second World War.
Japan's notorious Unit 731 is well known for the horrific experiments it carried out on humans in the 1930s.
17-year-old high school student Junko Furuta is grabbed on her way home from work by boys from her class. For 44 agonizing days and nights, she's held captive and tortured in a family home while the boys' parents go about their daily lives.
This video of the smoldering wreckage of one of the family's cars, riddled with bullet holes.
No one would ever expect this man in front of you to be known as one of the most controversial experimental horror directors of all time. This man goes by the name of Lucifer Valentine. With a name like that, what types of movies would you expect someone like him to be a part of? Well, to sum it up in a few sentences, he's responsible for making some of the most disturbing movies to ever hit horror consumers' eyes. It wouldn't be until 8 years after this video took place would we see the first film to be made by the mysterious figure. This is Lucifer Valentine's Slaughtered Vomit Dolls. Released on Valentine's Day of 2006, the film garnered quite the response following the release.
That was probably top 10 worst movies I've ever seen. Could barely explain this because it was just all over the place. Random clips here and there, dialogue here, vomit here, torture here, and it wasn't very entertaining to me.
The movie really didn't appeal to me at all. The whole look and the editing and the sound design, it's all so typical and just seems like cheap tricks that you use for your scary student art film.
With most describing it as one of the most ugly, revolting, and disgusting films they had ever seen, there were those who hailed it as a masterpiece of experimental art house horror.
As you can see, I had a real tough time watching this movie, and honestly, when it finished, I wasn't a fan. But after having a couple of hours to think about it, I can honestly say that I think I loved this movie.
Nonetheless, that doesn't take away from these films being captivating and boundary pushing. They are some of my favorite films to come out of the extreme cinema underground over the past decade.
Regardless of what side of the fence one stood, people found the movie interesting. The film follows the main character of the series, Angela Aberdeen, played by Ameara Levy. Angela is a lady of the night and stripper who has bulimia and deals with drug addictions. Throughout the movie, clips are shown of the young Angela as we cut back and forth between this and Angela as a troubled adult. She begins to experience hallucinations of everyone she knows dying in gruesome fashions until the movie ends with Angela lifeless in a bathtub by her own doing. The film is definitely a shocking movie, loaded with frantic and drastic editing, committed performances, and real-life footage of bodily fluids leaving the body. With this release, Lucifer Valentine left his mark on the horror industry and began to gain a cult following. His filmography would continue to grow with further films such as 2008's Regurgitated Sacrifice, 2010's Slow Torture Puke Chamber, 2012's A Perfect Child of Satan, 2012's Black Metal Veins, 2015's Black Mass of the Nazi Sex Wizard, and 2020's The Angela Chapters. All of these films, with the exception of Black Metal Veins, have similar editing to Slaughtered Vomit Dolls and are all connected to Lucifer Valentine's original film in some way, shape, or form. To quickly discuss some of the issues presented in these movies, there are many vile scenes of bodily excrement and fluids being used in a fashion not normal to the average movie audience. They often incorporate aspects of bondage and BDSM with a harsh emphasis on inflicting pain. One of the other parts of these movies, though, that may have some authenticity to it, is the drug use in Black Metal Veins, the sexual acts in all of them, and the scene from the Angela chapters known as the human rattlesnake. Though not confirmed whether this scene is real, sources have come forward to claim that the scene is in fact real. The scene displays someone with epilepsy as her lover places baby rattles on her limbs and proceeds to repeatedly shine a strobing light in her face, causing a grand mal seizure. Yeah. All I can hope is that this is truly fake, because if it is real, Lucifer Valentine deserves to be placed in prison. With all of this edge, mystery, and crazy catalog of films, many began to wonder one simple question. Who is Lucifer Valentine? To answer the question, nobody really knows. Aside from those who worked with him on the sets of his films, his identity has been shrouded in much secrecy and his persona is in mystery. However, this does not mean that we don't have anything. After the release of the second film in the Vomit Gore saga, Regurgitated Sacrifice, an interview was done with Lucifer Valentine by Punk Globe about himself and his film's content. In this interview, many important details are gained about who this mysterious figure may be, what he is like, what interests him, and what has inspired him in the creation of Slaughtered Vomit Dolls. Within the interview, Lucifer discusses how he was brought up by parents who were Satanists, and this is what led to him as well being a Satanist. He supposedly grew up in a fishing town named Arniston, which is off of the Western Cape of South Africa. This spot is specifically known for its whale watching and is an extreme tourist attraction due to its beautiful scenery and beautiful wildlife. The interview continues with discussions of the film and connections to real-life band Nirvana, mainly the lead singer, Kurt Cobain. Why this is even remotely interesting to bring up is because this does connect to many other aspects of this story. One of which being that the date Angela Aberdeen dies in Slaughtered Vomit Dolls is also the date that Kurt Cobain took his own life. Tragically, on April 5th of 1994, Kurt Cobain had taken his own life, which was due to severe depression and a hefty amount of drugs in his system. The three main drugs being heroin, Valium, and morphine. This in particular is something that I want you to keep in mind because things are only going to get more interesting as they continue. As the interview persists, we learn that Lucifer Valentine has a sister named Cinderella. She was reportedly blind with deteriorative retina disorder and was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, on top of having an incestuous relationship with her own brother, Lucifer. This is known through a series of tweets made by Mondo Videos, where Lucifer Valentine even discussed having kids with her, getting married, and would even walk her around in the front yard on a leash like a dog. One of the key things that is brought up in this interview is supposedly what is the worst day in Lucifer Valentine's life, and that is the day that his sister died. His sister reportedly took her own life on New Year's Day of 2006. This happened because she was jealous of the relationship that Lucifer Valentine had with Ameara Levy, who is the lead actress in the Vomit Gore trilogy. Apparently, after living in South Africa, he moved to Canada and got involved in the hardcore adult film industry, which is where he ended up meeting Miss Levy. After the death of his sister, though, Lucifer Valentine felt inspired by it, as the way Angela dies in the first Vomit Gore movie is reportedly the same way Cinderella took her own life, and that is by overdosing and drowning in a bathtub. It seems Lucifer Valentine has an extreme perversion of the things that inspire his films, leaving nothing out of the open. In the interview, he discusses how he enjoys watching people vomit and using their other bodily fluids as disgusting tools of pleasure. Even an 8-month pregnant Ameara Levy is still not exempt from participating in the scenes that Lucifer Valentine has in store for her, regardless of how grotesque or intense they are. He has to clarify that all of the acts in his films are real and consensual, which really doesn't add up to his persona. But for now, the final thing that I want to address about this interview is one of the questions regarding his identity. He was simply asked what his nationality is, to which he responded that he can't disclose that information as his lawyer will kill him. He also gives away that he has had death threats placed on him and his family by stalkers and religious followers. This shows that there is the possibility of knowing who he really is, but at the time of this interview, nobody really knew. But what changed that sentiment? What made it so that people are now so close to figuring out who he is, or even have a name? Well, I have a name. But before we get into that, let's discuss what the title of this video is even about. That is, the accusations that led to the new information we all have on Lucifer Valentine. Singers, movie stars, comedians, directors. These are all forms of different types of celebrities. We all have had the want to meet some of our favorite idols in any one of these forms. Maybe you want to take a picture with them, obtain an autograph, or maybe just have a conversation. We all want to meet our idols. However, there is a common phrase out there that states, never meet your idols. This is simply to avoid disappointment when your idol is someone you didn't picture them to be. Not to say that who they are isn't good, but just not what you were hoping for. Lucifer Valentine is someone that has portrayed an image of mystery, always wanting to be kept in the shadows when his identity is brought into question. On top of his exploitation of mental disorders, eating disorders, and his hyperfixation on violence and brutality, Lucifer Valentine has caught the eye of many people. Some may be too young. We all have social media in some way, shape, or form, whether it be Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, or Facebook. We all typically have one or all of these. On Facebook, there are many groups that you can join to highlight your interest in a certain topic, along with sharing that interest with hundreds or thousands of others. Music, TV shows, movies, books, games, groups are present everywhere and for all of these. With this being true, it comes as no surprise that there are groups for extreme cinema, and of course, a group for Lucifer Valentine and his filmography. These alleged groups were held in the profile name Thompson Edwards, which is the alias that Lucifer Valentine goes by on Facebook. Through this account is how Lucifer would make contact with people and form the groups. Within these groups were people who had worked on his films with Lucifer, and fans of his films describing their admiration for his work and the director alike. Due to the content of his filmography, it would be best to keep all of those who were in these groups as adults, not allowing children or minors to be within the discussions of such material. Unfortunately, this is not the case, and in fact, it's quite the opposite of just keeping it adult-like. Through videos of those who have spoken out against Lucifer Valentine, a Twitter thread gathering evidence from victims and other victim testimonials, we see that minors were very much so exposed to Lucifer Valentine and his work. Many of these individuals would see the work of Mr. Valentine and would come to these groups and try to get access to a minor celebrity. According to these cases discussed previously, it is explained that they would approach Lucifer Valentine about his films and would actively engage in discussions with them, whether publicly in the groups or in direct messages between the alleged victims and alleged assailant. Throughout these discussions, the victims would clearly be asked about their age, to which they would state that they were minors. These minors would then be preyed upon by Lucifer Valentine and his group using various different methods of predatory behavior. These include, but are not limited to, forcing underage victims to harm themselves, taking illegal substances, sending pictures of themselves in a sexually explicit manner or with a sexual undertone, telling them to throw up their meals or to not eat if they were dealing with an eating disorder, and would even blackmail them, using any of these methods to keep them from stopping the flow of this content. Something else, though, that was extra concerning, which is just an added form of manipulation, is the repeated promise to minors that as soon as they became adults, they would be allowed to participate in his films. Yeah. When referring to sexually explicit content, I mean ones where minors would send images of themselves in intimate clothing or bare no clothes at all to Lucifer and his friends. They would then use these images to continue receiving them through blackmail.
After I got off Facebook, I was approached by a couple of survivors before they came forward as survivors. Just on shit that he'd done to them, that, you know, he allegedly doxed them, took pictures of their IDs, and posted it to the Facebook group, or had filmed them doing some pretty obscene shit besides what he'd already filmed and put in movies, and held that as blackmail. Or held it over them because of the job that they work, you know?
It even goes farther than that, with him asking them to put on bikinis, try on costumes, and send all of those images to himself and his friends. Lucifer would encourage all of them to give into their disorders, personal issues, and mental health concerns simply because he enjoyed it. To further this point, certain actresses have spoken out against Lucifer Valentine and stated that he forced them to watch a video of a 12-year-old girl ending her own life to get into character in his films. They would be forced to watch these videos repeatedly just to get the types of responses that Lucifer Valentine wanted and enjoyed seeing out of his actresses. Those who have dealt with the figure in his messages and his films have had to put up with some of the most depraved interests that a man could potentially have. Those who have been in contact with him in the Facebook groups were routinely groomed and preyed upon by members older than the ages of 40. Why someone would ever let teenagers into a group with dozens of adult men with content like Lucifer's is truly beyond my comprehension. Throughout all of this, we see dozens of people come forward to talk about Lucifer and his alleged kingdom of hell. The allegations are disturbing to say the least, and can really tarnish the reputation that Lucifer may be trying to obtain or keep. With that being said, there was a response to the allegations, as Mondo Videos was reached out to by him. In this response, he claims that every time he talks to a fan, he states that he always asks them for an ID or to see their real age, and never does anything illegal when talking to them privately. He also claims that there are others who create fake profiles and spread false rumors, or behave inappropriately to paint a bad image on the figure himself. However, people still claim that they were in contact with the real Lucifer Valentine, where IDs were never asked for and were exploited or groomed by himself and others connected to him. But this is not the only time someone near Lucifer Valentine has been hurt in a very, very grave way. To truly understand the troubled relationship between these two, here's a quote from the man himself. I was traveling to various countries as a getaway when I met Ameara Levy in Canada, as I had been taking care of my very ill sister my entire life up until that point where my parents were consumed by their work. I had a few friends in the porn industry, and at parties, I kept running into Ameara Levy. We always seemed to be in the same room, and she was just standing right beside me, starting a conversation with me. I thought Ameara was so sweet, but to be honest, I wasn't interested in dating her at first, but she was persistent and kept asking me to go out for a drink, and so, on the fourth time of her asking me, I agreed to take her out, and we became inseparable from that point on. Ameara desperately needed to be taken care of when I met her, as she had severe health problems due to drug and alcohol abuse. She was barely 92 pounds, emaciated, white as a ghost, and honestly looked like she would be dead very soon. Ameara was working in extreme hardcore underground porn when I met her, and she literally could barely make it through the scenes without collapsing. It was horrible. She was malnourished and frail and was abusing her antipsychotic drugs like lithium, etc. One night at 3 a.m. in the pouring rain, Ameara was kicked out of her father's house with nothing but a small bag of a change of clothes and a carton of milk she had snatched on her way out the door. She had knocked on my door, and I answered to see a soaking wet, totally lost and nearly insane Ameara Levy shivering and staring at me like a stray kitten. I said, "Get in here, kid. You're mine now." Ameara lay in my bed for nearly 3 months, and I took care of her, nursing her back to health, feeding her, clothing her, and yes, filming her. Since I have a dominant personality and Ameara was totally submissive to me, we had a 24/7 total power exchange relationship agreement in which she could stay with me as long as she liked, and I promised to take care of her and make sure she got healthy as long as she did everything I told her to, no matter what, and gave me permission to film her at any time doing anything. Absolutely nothing was off limits, and it was all at my discretion, not hers. So as I mentioned above, I am a Satanist and an emetophile, and intertwined with my taking care of near-death hardcore porn actress Ameara Levy, her hellish detox and recovery, and my obsession with the death of Kurt Cobain, and our 24/7 total power exchange dominant submissive relationship during which I was filming Ameara around the clock, the end result is slaughtered vomit dolls and the birth of the genre of vomit gore. This whole story of how he met Ameara Levy is incredibly depraved and specific. Some people have tried to discredit the story as one that Lucifer has made up for the sake of being more dark and edgy. However, I do believe this is the closest thing to a truthful statement we have heard out of the man. When watching any of the movies made by him that feature Ameara, it can clearly be seen that it was filmed with little to no equipment other than a camera, almost like it was homemade. She would normally be drugged out, drunk, or would be unable to consent to these types of actions legally. Though, in later movies, Lucifer Valentine would have his actresses state at the beginning that they consent to the actions in the movie, it's very hard to actually consent to something when you do not know what you are consenting to. This is exactly what happened to Miss Levy, who met Lucifer through his connections in the Canadian adult film industry to which she was a part of. She was an actress, and he had directed hardcore films for the industry at the time and continued meeting her. Once she was vulnerable and kicked out of her home, he took this opportunity to victimize someone who was dealing with self-harm tendencies, substance abuse issues, and an eating disorder. It was through the exploitation that really led to the downfall of Ameara Levy, because on September 1st, 2017, Ameara Levy's real name was Brandy Petrie, and she was a mother of 3 at the time of the murder. Her friend, Avery Levelly Flesher, who was also killed that day, died later at the hospital where Ameara died at the scene. Travis McPhail was the man responsible for the double murder, and it's horrible to see a mother ripped away from her 3 children. However, this is how it connects to Lucifer Valentine. Lucifer Valentine is someone that loves seeing the abuse people would put themselves through and took pleasure in watching their disorders and issues unfold in front of his eyes. Ameara Levy's drug abuse issues had gotten the best of her, and it truly makes me wonder if Ameara would still be alive right now if Lucifer Valentine hadn't exploited her and sustaining a worsening condition for them. Lucifer Valentine may not have orchestrated the death and murder of Ameara Levy, but he certainly had a hand in the outcome, unknowingly steering Ameara toward her own demise. But now that we have a death that is connected to Lucifer Valentine, especially with the allegations that have come out, maybe it's time to tackle who really is Lucifer Valentine. When hunting down information on Lucifer Valentine, many have taken a look at what he has stated as his background and his real identity. Well, as I stated previously, I have a name. However, I cannot state this name due to the defamation reasons, as until the information is proven legally true, I cannot be stating this information without concrete proof. All I want to say is the initials are. With this though, information does lead us down a rabbit hole that paints a very different picture. With the information I have gathered, plus those who have actually gathered said information, I can trace the original Lucifer Valentine background. He was born in Canada and not in South Africa. He also never had incestuous relations with his sister, but did have fantasies about her. Lucifer had continued to grow up here, entering into the grunge and death metal scene with bands that started with the initials of BS and K. The lyrics to many of these songs preach Satanism and sadism in many forms. Also, when listening to the interview done with about his band, the voices sound somewhat similar to the voice of the cameraman in Slaughtered Vomit Dolls, which, if those were actual home movies, then Lucifer himself was the cameraman, and Lucifer plus SF have a strong similarity in race, voice, and even a lack of tattoo patterns. The final thing, though, and really makes this character so intriguing is that they have worked in Hollywood and even been nominated for Emmys on certain mid-2000s TV shows. Since none of this has been proven though, all of this is alleged information, hence why I am being super vague with this information to avoid a defamation case against me. But the search for Lucifer Valentine continues, and until someone can bring him to justice, we never truly know with 100% certainty that these crimes are true of him. But for now, all I have to say is this. If the allegations are true, Lucifer Valentine is a sickening individual, and I stand with the victims 100%. I hope to continue to look into this case and keep my eye on it as the case is still ongoing and things could change. Maybe I'll even do a part 2 to this video, as long as there's a substantial enough update. But for now, hell can be anywhere, and Lucifer is on Earth. He is a man as maybe potentially dangerous, so do not try to make any sort of attempt to contact anyone mentioned in this video, nor harass anyone mentioned in this video. My name is Brendan Reviews, and this has been the premiere of True Crime Reviews. I'll see you all next time. Okay. I just want to take a quick second to address the elephant in the room. Where the fuck have I been? And all I'm going to say is this. I have just been extremely busy. I have taken the time to do a lot of self-improvement on certain things that have nothing to really do with YouTube, but just some self-improvement stuff. I've got a new job, and I'm just working on myself. Don't worry, it's not like my entire life has changed. I'm still with Haley. I still am okay. I'm okay mentally. I'm working. I'm in college. Everything's good. I just wanted to take the time to, focus on me for a little bit, give myself a little bit of a break. But here I am. I am back. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the premiere of True Crime Reviews, and I hope to stay for the long run, and I am sorry for the wait. But hopefully, this was worth it. But yeah, my name is Brendan Reviews, and I hope you guys have a great day, evening, night. I don't know what the fuck time you guys are watching this, and I will see you all next time.